If you're looking at getting a golden visa in the UAE, you might think you have to buy property or start your company there. But there's one golden visa option that's not talked about a lot. And today I'm going to tell you why it could be a great plan B for someone. And the reason you probably don't hear as much about this option is because unlike real estate where someone earns a commission, or unlike setting up your company where people are going to have ongoing fees to help you with that, this option doesn't really pay anybody anything, so there's less incentive to talk about it. And that is UAE Golden Visa by making a bank deposit. Here's how it works. You can go and open a bank account in the UAE. You will deposit 2 million Emirati dirhams, which is about 545,000 US dollars, into a 24-month, 2-year fixed deposit. Last time I checked, interest rates were in the high 2s. So you're going to earn close to 3% interest, which obviously could go up or down on that deposit, and you're going to keep it rolling over for as long as you want to keep the residence permit. In exchange, they're going to give you a 10-year residence permit and an Emirates ID that says Golden Card on the front of it, and you will be able to live in the UAE anytime you want with the option to do so, but not the requirement. And so for someone who wants to have one residence permit or a collection of residence permits around the world where they have places that they can go if the taxes in their country ever become too high, or if there's chaos going on, or if God knows what black swan event could be happening, you want to have places to go. And what I suggest is don't wait until everything totally falls apart or the taxes go through the roof to have your plan. Have it now. Make reasonable investments or pay reasonable fees to get access to a number of countries at a higher level than a tourist, to where you know where you could go depending on what happens in your country. So this may not be the best option for someone who wants a plan A. Now, obviously, none of this is business or tax advice. This is my general thoughts on a program. If you want our specific, bespoke, and holistic help, you can go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply. We'll be happy to talk about your situation and see if we can help you. But my views is if you want to have a Plan B residence permit, you don't necessarily want to be managing a property. I think people sometimes try and conflate too many different things into one goal. And so I've talked to people in years past where they've said, Andrew, I like your trifecta strategy, which is where I live 3 different places 4 months each. Very tax friendly. You get to see different places. It's fun. But I want to buy properties in those places. And when I'm not there, I'm going to rent them out. And I said, I don't do that because it's too much complexity. And I don't recommend you do that, because buying a property as an investment is a different set of criteria than buying a property that you want to live in. And when you try, serving 2 masters, it starts to become mushy, right? I mean, the property that you want to buy to live in may not be the best investment. Don't try and make it both. And so to buy property in a place that you're not convinced you're going to live in, are you going to buy in the right neighborhood? Are you going to buy the kind of property that you want? Are you going to try and serve 2 masters? And so, my thought is, anytime you have liquidity and you can move that liquidity to some other place and you can get a residence permit or a citizenship in exchange for that, I like that, because you're not taking on the extra baggage. You're not taking on extra effort. Now, again, no one's going to earn a commission off of you doing that. No one's going to bamboozle you into thinking that the UAE still has 0% tax, when most businesses that are there now are going to pay 9% tax. The bank deposit option does not pay anybody, but what it does do is open up an opportunity where you've got a bank account now in a country that during the Great Recession said, we will insure bank balances to infinity. And so where I come from, the United States, that country has more bank failures than the rest of the world combined. I would feel personally more comfortable with my money in a bank in the UAE than I would in the US. Now, I'm not saying you can't have both, but I'm saying if you have $1 million or a couple $1 million in the US or in Canada or in the UK or wherever it is that you live, why not consider moving $545,000 to a place where you can get decent interest rates? You can hold multiple currencies, not just the Emirati dirham, but others within the region, which could be hard to access, others which are pegged to the US dollar. You can hold other currencies, euros and Swiss francs and other stuff. You can also make investments in a region that is emerging. Kevin O'Leary talked about how if he were just starting out as an investor, he would be looking at markets like in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and less in the West. Well, you can invest in those markets. They're not as accessible on a lot of brokerage platforms. You can invest in those often higher dividend paying and very tax-friendly stocks and bonds in the UAE and in the Gulf region through a UAE bank account. You keep the fixed deposit in there as the base, and you can put more money in. Worst case scenario, you got a tunnel to where maybe you only have the fixed deposit, but then later you're like, I think capital controls are coming, or I think something bad's happening. You can always move more money into the bank account. So you can scale a bank account up over time. It's harder to scale property up and down over time. Listen, I own properties around the world. I'm a big believer in owning real estate. But if you're looking for a plan B and you're not going to look to move somewhere yet, I think a bank account could be potentially a better option. The other thing that I like about this is you can create more tunnels if you go with one of the larger banks that has a global or at least a regional presence. And so Emirates MBD, Mashreq, others have banks in other places, including Singapore, including the UK, including other countries in the region like Saudi Arabia. I think Emirates MBD is in Egypt, where there's a citizenship by investment program. You have to have a bank account in Egypt to make the property investment to get your citizenship. I call it like basically a free citizenship, because if you don't lose money on the real estate and the rent that you make over the 5 years pays the fees, you can sell that property in Egypt later and keep the passport, right? But you have to have a bank account there, right? So if I open an account in Dubai or in the UAE with one of those large banks that has a presence in other countries, some of those banks can refer me to their banks in other places around the world. We have one of my bankers that comes to Nomad Capitalist Live every year in Malaysia. He can help you open a bank account in Malaysia, but once you're in with him, he can potentially refer you to other places around the region in Asia. And that's one thing we help our clients do, and it's one thing we offer to people who are guests at our annual live event. And there's other banks around the world that do that. They don't all do that, but if you get in with a bank at this kind of wealth level in the UAE, there could be other opportunities regionally and even globally. And so my bottom line is, before you go out and buy property and tie yourself into something, look at this option. Now, you can get a UAE Golden Visa. You don't have to live in the UAE, but let's say a year from now, you know what, I'm tired of paying high taxes where I live. I'm going to go and live in that place where I have a Golden Visa. Well, you can live there 365 days a year. You can also not live there at all. So you can scale it up and down whenever you want. You do need to look at the tax consequences, minimal as they are in the UAE, for if you decide to spend a substantial amount of time there. What those tax consequences are, not only where you're leaving, but also where you're going in the UAE. But I'm talking to the person that wants to have a few residence permits around the world and say, whenever I say go, that's where I'm going. Or if this happens, I'm going over there instead. Tax friendly, of course, the UAE, not totally tax free, but tax friendly. Things work. It's multicultural. It's well connected. I mean, if you want to go other places in the world, if you're going to Europe, if you're going to Asia, if you're going even to North America, South, they go everywhere pretty much. You've got good schools. They are, geopolitically, I think, in a strong position. And that region is playing a greater importance in geopolitical affairs these days. You saw some of the talks in Saudi Arabia recently. The UAE is more involved in that. Now, you're not going to get citizenship from a Golden Visa here the way you might in Portugal. This is why you want different parts of your Plan B strategy. You still might want a Golden Visa in Europe on top of a Golden Visa in the UAE, because they serve different purposes. And if you have a plan A and you're saying, I just want to move to Dubai today, this may not be the best option because of how, let's say you're an entrepreneur, how is your business going to be taxed? Maybe in that case, you want to sit up in the free zone and have your company in the UAE and just say, hey, the tax is what it is. But if you're looking for a plan B now and maybe it becomes your plan A later, you can always go and reincorporate in the UAE later. You can always go and rent a property to start and make sure you feel comfortable before you then buy a property. And you can have this golden card of knowing that you have some money and now you can live there when you want. And you don't have to worry about doing the other stuff, which you might have to change later, or you might decide you don't like it, or you want to undo it, or whatever. This to me is a lower key option. Doesn't work for everybody, but especially if you're not ready to move yet, this could be an option. Now, there's other places in the world you can get residence permits just by putting money in the bank. We'll talk about that separately. There are places in Asia, for example, like Thailand, you can do that. Places in Central America like Panama. Other options where you can buy property and invest in the Gulf region as well, outside of Dubai. This is one thing we help our clients figure out. How many residence permits do you need? How many citizenships do you need? Where should your money go? How much of your money are you comfortable moving? Where should your company be incorporated? If you're not planning on leaving Canada or the UK yet, you may not want to reincorporate your company because there's just going to be taxed. That offshore company will be taxed where you live in most Western countries. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, particularly if you're looking for a plan B that could become a plan A in the future. If you go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply, we help our clients figure out all these moving pieces. We clarify the known unknowns, and we'll usually pick out a few unknown unknowns, things that you weren't aware of. One thing in Dubai, I told you a story of a guy, he makes most of his money from royalties. Well, Dubai is not that tax friendly for him. Now listen, maybe you don't care about tax friendliness as much, but you should at least know the unknown unknowns before you make a decision. You should work with a company that has dozens of options. We've helped our clients prepare to move and actually move to about 31 different tax-friendly countries and a couple of not so tax-friendly ones. We've helped our clients get passports by numerous different ways in countries all around the world. We work with banks all around the world. I think all told, we do stuff in about 100 countries or close to it all around the world, and we're always developing new programs. I just flew somebody to East Africa recently to check something out. We're flying somebody down to Central America in the near future to check some stuff out. We're sending somebody down to Mauritius to work on a new project soon. I mean, I think we have more data and more options than anyone else you're going to go. We're not the cheapest service. We're also not the most expensive. Maybe the most expensive of the YouTube copycats, and even that I'm not so sure about. But certainly you can go to plenty of companies that will charge you a higher fee. Our thing is, we don't have a dog in the fight. The UAE could be a great part of your plan. It could be all the plan, it could be part of the plan, it could be a future plan, it could be a contingency plan, it could be just a banking plan. There's so many moving parts. That's what we figure out. It's not one size fits all, it's bespoke. And we can walk through, and we listen to you as a human being. What do you like Dubai? Would you like to live in Dubai? Is that the lifestyle that you're looking for? You shouldn't do things just for strategic reasons. I live in Malaysia part of the year. That's the place that I've chosen to live among tax-friendly places like this. I actually like it. I actually feel good there. It's not just about, hey, it was easy to get into and it was, they treat me well and they don't take my money. I actually enjoy it. That should be part of the plan as well. And I don't think a lot of companies ask you, are you going to enjoy this and be happy with this? NomadCapitalist.com/apply. We'd love to help you build your bespoke plan. This could be one part of it or not.
This is an 18th century palace in Lisbon, Portugal, and it's literally one of the most elegant fine dining restaurants anywhere in Europe. And I'm going to be showing you luxury living in Portugal here, and showing you penthouses and palaces for sale that you can live in with some of the best views of the city. And taking you to an exclusive members club that you can join, where old money and new money meet here in Lisbon. We're shopping for top brands along Lisbon's 5th Avenue, visiting a catamaran in Lisbon's harbor to show you how you can buy a boat here, and meeting Michelin star chefs and drinking amazing Portuguese wine to show you the good life in Lisbon. This is how to live like a king.